Hello everyone. This is a story about how a husband was tied to a chair and forced to watch his wife cheat. Please subscribe to the channel. It's not difficult for you, and it's nice for me. Simon Velasquez was looking to the left when he felt someone sit down at the other end of the wooden bench in the park to his right. He didn't feel the need to look at the other person. He was enjoying the magnificent sunny morning of early spring in Southern California, a day perfect for postcard photos, sitting on a bench with a hot cup of coffee in hand. A few minutes later, he looked to the right and saw that another woman was sitting on the bench, a stout, middle-aged woman who, in his opinion, looked familiar. He fought the temptation to openly stare at the woman, trying to remember where he knew her from, and simply tried to catch her fleeting glance. She seemed to be busy watching her child hanging on the monkey bars. After his fourth or fifth glance at her, the hairs on his arms stood on end. He realized that not only did he know this woman, but he had once been married to her. His blood pressure shot up, and his heart raced. He argued with himself whether to ignore her or acknowledge her. The argument was interrupted by the woman herself. "Yes, Simon, it's really me, the Wicked Witch of the West, in the flesh," said Devin Velasquez. Simon slowly turned to his ex-wife, fully assessing her appearance for the first time in nearly 10 years. To say he was shocked would be an understatement. He hoped his face didn't reveal his astonishment. Simon knew that Devin was the same age as him, 50, but to him, she looked about 60. She had gained 50 pounds since they were married. Her face was lined with wrinkles and crow's feet, and her once lush blonde curls were now cut into mouse-colored pixie style. Well, overall, not very impressive. "Please, be a gentleman, see. I know how I look," said Devin. "I never thought of being anything less, Dev." "You know I'm not like that," Simon replied. "Which one of them is your boyfriend?" A few feet away from Devin, 3 boys were hanging on the monkey bars. They were all about the same age as her son, who should be 9 years old, as far as he remembered. He had no idea because he hadn't seen him since he was a little child. She stared at Simon intently. "The blonde and blue. I know you don't remember, if you ever knew. His name is Brandon," she said with a hint of irritation in her voice. "Sorry, Devin." "He's a handsome kid," said Simon. "And he's a good kid," Devin said. "He's been through a lot, but he's always been there for his mom." Now it was Simon's turn to glare angrily at his ex-wife. "It's not my place to apologize for his father, Devin. You made that choice yourself," he said sharply. She winced, knowing Simon was right. He usually was. She had just been too selfish to admit it back then. She had turned 40 and felt old and depressed. Simon's accounting career was thriving. Their kids, 15 and 13, were doing well in school, and her career as an office manager at a small law firm was also progressing nicely. However, she had regrets. She wanted more, specifically more excitement. It was just a one-time birthday gift, something special to help her feel like a child again on her 40th birthday. The kids were going to spend the weekend at her parents' house. With a friend's help, Devin invited a young guy from a local college to give her an unforgettable evening. Simon had to decide whether he wanted to stay and watch what was happening or leave for the night. It wasn't a request. Everything had been decided beforehand. His only choice was whether to stay or leave for the night. "No. Not just no, but not a chance," he shouted when she told him. "I won't let you do something like this. We made a vow 17 years ago. It didn't include a one-night pass when you turned 40. It's my decision, and I can do what I want," she retorted. "I need this. It'll be good for me, and therefore good for you." That was it in a nutshell, he thought. If it was good for her, it would be good for him, and for the family. She knew he loved her too much to ever deny her something she truly wanted, and she really wanted this. He tried his best to talk her out of this madness, but it didn't stop her. He made one more attempt before the young man was supposed to arrive. She mocked him as she refused his plea. At that moment, Simon left, trying his hardest not to cry, grabbing his wallet and car keys. He drove away in frustration, but 10 minutes later, he returned and calmly parked at the end of his block. He needed to see for himself that his wife was really going to go through with it. A few minutes after 8, a brand new SUV pulled up to his house, and a tall, muscular guy got out and rang the doorbell. Simon, watching the young man enter his house, felt a wave of anger. Simon hadn't seen what his wife had changed into when he left the house. She greeted Lee Carter in a top and short denim shorts. Devin blushed but tried to stay calm as the young man began to talk to her. "Yeah, this is great," she thought, feeling unusual emotions. However, Devin didn't have much time to worry about Simon as she felt absorbed in her new experience. This birthday would be one she remembered for the rest of her life, if only she could calm her husband down when he finally came home. Still, she was glad this day brought her new sensations. The evening turned into what Devon had hoped for, and she couldn't wait to share this experience with someone. When Simon returned home, he looked a bit worn out. Devon tried to soothe him as he headed for the kitchen, offering him aspirin and wine. But suddenly, Simon was tied up and bound to a chair. Devon was being embraced by several men, and they were all making love. Simon was tied up, trying to break free, but he couldn't. He just sat there watching the show. "Simon, do we love each other?" she asked. "We? Do you think there's still an us here?" he asked, clearly upset. Simon didn't want her to hug him. Devon understood that he was upset and possibly drunk, but she wasn't going to shy away from the topic of her evening activities. She needed to wait a moment for him to calm down. "I take it you had a good time for your birthday," Simon said, expecting a reply. "It was a nice evening." "Thanks for the gift," she replied. "Let's clarify something," Simon said. "I didn't give you that gift. You gave it to yourself." Simon went upstairs, and Devon followed him. He stopped at the bedroom door and sighed. "Even with the window open, I can tell this wasn't just a nice evening," he grumbled before walking into the guest bedroom and closing the door behind him. Devon understood that she needed to give her husband some space. She hoped that in time he would come to accept her birthday gift, as over the years they had been together, he had never denied her something she truly wanted. Despite the alcohol, Simon slept poorly that night. He thought he had a good marriage. He wondered how he could have been so mistaken. Devon was already preparing breakfast in the kitchen when Simon, suffering from a hangover, walked into the room looking exhausted. Taking pity on him, Devon set a cup of black coffee in front of him. "Can you keep breakfast down, or should I eat alone?" she gently asked. Simon groaned before responding that the coffee was enough. "And I had to go through some trouble to make waffles with bacon," she said, just before Simon jumped from his seat, raced to the bathroom, and struggled with his hangover for several minutes. He returned to the kitchen a few minutes later, looking barely alive. "Why didn't you just shoot me, Dev?" Simon asked. "It would have hurt less. Drama is all your thing, babe." "It wasn't supposed to be anything more," Devon said quietly. "Obviously, I let you down, Devon, if you felt the need for something more than me or someone else besides me. But I thought you loved me enough that we could discuss our problems, maybe find some solution we could both live with. Or if you had shown me some respect and at least asked for a divorce first, instead of just breaking my heart," Simon said. "You didn't let me down, Simon." "Never think that," Devon said softly. "This is about me, my ego, and my desires more than anything else. I'm not getting any younger, see. For me, I just wanted to understand if I still had something left in me, so to speak. And I did, and now I don't have to wonder. I was there. I did that. Now we can live together for the rest of our lives. Until you want to do it again someday in the future, for some other reason you can come up with," Simon interjected. "I wouldn't do that. It was just one time, remember? It shouldn't have happened in any case. Remember what was said in forsaking all others." Simon grumbled. Devon turned away from Simon. Maybe he had a hangover, but he wasn't a fool. "Do you know we've been married for about 6,000 days? How much is one night out of 6,000? You're the statistics expert. Do the math." "It's infinitesimally small," she pleaded. "You want to get your past to even the odds? Is that what this is about? Fine. If you're going to treat this like a child." "No, I don't need my own pass. I don't want anyone but you. Although right now, I definitely don't want to do anything even with you. You don't understand. Your selfishness destroyed us," he raged. "My selfishness? What about your selfishness?" she shot back. "You're telling me you're willing to destroy our family. Our family. Over one night out of 6,000. Over one mistake out of 6,000 days. No, it's hardly a mistake, Dev. You knew exactly what you were doing, and you executed your plan. While it would be hard for me to forgive a mistake, I can't forgive a heartless plan. Betrayal. You betrayed me." "Oh, please. Now you're just trying to be dramatic. I didn't betray you. I had an evening with another man. Just one evening. Now it's over, and I think you're going to make me spend the next 30 years atoning for my sins to you," she said. "No, it's not like that," Simon said quietly. "You won't atone for your sins in that way. I'm not a fool you can distract, like that guy you were with. By the way, I wasn't born yesterday. This was set up from the beginning. Where the hell did you find this guy?" Devon's lips curled unpleasantly. "A friend of Marcy's," she began. "Son of a bitch," Simon exclaimed. "I should have guessed this situation would somehow be tied to her. Tell me she didn't convince you to do this." We talked about it, but she didn't pressure me into anything, Devin said. She did the exact same thing, but her husband didn't throw their marriage in the trash because it hurt his feelings. Edward is an idiot. You know it, and I know it. Are you trying to say that because this guy let Marcy do something like this, you thought you could do it too? Simon asked. Devin shrugged. When did you stop respecting me? When did my opinion on such important matters as our marriage become less than someone else's? Despite Devin's protests, a week later, Simon filed for divorce. 3 weeks after that, he returned home to find Devin alone at the kitchen table, looking as though she had been waiting for him to speak. What now, Dev? He asked sadly, realizing another argument was brewing. She moved her lips, but Simon couldn't hear her words. What? He asked irritably, not particularly caring that they were about to argue. I'm pregnant, she said, the words coming out more like a sigh than a statement. Simon froze for a few seconds, unsure what to say. It didn't sound like an accusation. Sorry, he finally whispered. I guess we haven't used contraception for so long that you just didn't think. It's been over 10 years since your vasectomy. I just didn't think. If I had thought at all, Devin said. I guess I really messed up, but you know I can't have an abortion, dear. You know I just can't. The guy is 19. He's a sophomore in college. He has no money. I have problems, dear. I'm going to need financial help, but more importantly, I'll need emotional support from my loving husband. We can do this, Simon, just like we did with our kids. We have 8 more months of pregnancy ahead, childbirth, childhood, everything else. Please. A month ago, seeing his crying wife would have nearly broken Simon's heart. However, at that moment, he simply felt numb and wondered if he would ever be able to feel again. I can't raise someone else's child. As for the rest, those opportunities disappeared when you decided to become a freelancer. I'm sorry, Devin. I'm leaving. You're on your own. 17 years, see. That should mean something, she whimpered. Maybe you should have asked yourself that question earlier, he said. Devin moved in with her parents a few weeks before the final divorce. Together with their parents, Devin's children helped her with their half-sister when they came to visit. The kids rarely mentioned their father. Devin sometimes asked if he was seeing other women. In most cases, the answer was no. Simon sold the family home a few months after their second child left for college. Devin felt sad to learn that the house where her children grew up was no more, but she was extremely grateful to Simon for ensuring that she received her half of the proceeds on time. Gradually, contact between the two ex-spouses dwindled as Simon stopped attending any family events, celebrating Christmas and birthdays only with his children and their growing families. I was a foolish, selfish woman. There's no doubt about it, Devin said, leaning a little closer to him on the bench. But I must admit, I never saw you genuinely invested in me. At first, I was almost certain you would eventually forgive me. Then I was almost sure you would at least be able to cope with it. But I just didn't expect you to gather your courage and leave completely. You were too good of a person to just turn your back on me, on us, even if the child wasn't yours. You transformed from the best person in the world into a person who left, for good. I couldn't foresee that. It couldn't be about money. You were never selfish about your money. Even our kids were shocked at how cold you became. I know they expressed these thoughts to you shortly after the divorce, but they told me you were unresponsive to their pleas, and so they soon stopped. You made their last few years at home very uncomfortable. Did you know that? Or did you not care? Were you just so angry at me that everything else didn't matter? I didn't take pride in my actions because it affected the children, but you didn't deserve anything better from me, Simon replied. You took advantage of me. I always tried to do everything I could for you, and you tried to use that against me. Someone had to look out for me, and when I looked around, I saw that I was the only one capable of doing that. So Joe the good guy had to go. So, you decided to spread the news about me all over town? She asked. I wouldn't be able to go on a date with a decent man, even if my life depended on it. Have you ever thought that it's because of what you did to me, not because of what I did to you? If you tried to date people in our circle, they probably already knew about your actions. Plus, you had a child on your hands. A single woman over 40 with a child is not a very attractive situation for men of a certain age. However, it's the most appealing environment for younger guys and players. They smile, saying they wouldn't mind chatting, and you were an attractive woman. Am I right? She quickly looked Simon in the eyes before lowering her gaze. Yes, I guess so. I was just too angry with you to admit it to myself, Devin said. In a nutshell, Simon said, you were too angry at me. It was all about you. What you wanted, your feelings, your expectations. You never thought about what I wanted, my feelings, my expectations. Maybe it's because I was too good of a person when I always tried to please you. I think you started to consider yourself above us all, rightfully elevated to the pedestal I put you on. You became self-absorbed. If it was good for you, it would be good for me and for the whole family. You were so absorbed in yourself. It shouldn't have been a surprise for you that I refused to accept your birthday gift. We discussed fidelity many times, and I never gave you the slightest hint that I might gift you that. I thought we were on the same wavelength, and I never had to worry that you would ask me for something like you did. Why couldn't you at least love me enough to try to work this out, huh? You didn't even try. You just turned your back on me, Devin said. If you remember, I tried to talk you out of this. I tried and tried, knowing it would be too late when you did it. I knew you wouldn't be able to deny yourself, and at that moment, everything between us would be over. How could you not notice that? Devin winced. I saw it. I was just so overconfident that I just knew. I absolutely knew that you would forgive me after a while. You surprised me. Well, you didn't surprise me. You were consistent, but I was surprised that you didn't give in to me. I used to wrap you around my finger. Your desires, the house, the car, that made sense, Simon said. For me, it didn't really matter. On the other hand, your fidelity was extremely important to me. How could you not see the difference? I was so sure I could make you change one of your core beliefs because of your love for me. Marcy told me that your love for me would eventually win, Devin said. Simon's eyebrows went up. He pressed his lips together. Ah, Marcy, the missing link in this tragedy. You listened to her. Me, you were just trying to ignore. I was your husband. It was supposed to be the other way around, Simon said. And by the way, about that woman, what role did she play in your life? Now it was Devin's turn to press her lips together. I haven't talked to her for more than 5 years when I finally realized she didn't take my interest to heart. She was perfectly happy being my assistant as long as I continued to spend time with her after you left, and until I understood that she just wanted a conversational partner. A real friend tries to help you become better, not go downhill. It took me a while to realize that, Devin said. And by the way, how does your birthday boy support his child? It doesn't seem like you two are doing too well, Simon said. Does it make you feel better knowing my life hasn't turned out so well? She retorted. Simon looked at her disapprovingly. No, he hasn't paid me a dime in the last few years. He moved out of state and stopped sending money for support. I tried to track him down, but then I realized it would cost me more money than it was worth. Damn, nothing I did was worth what it cost me. She slowly shook her head, as if trying to push away some thoughts. Suddenly, it hit her. Which one of them is yours? She asked, glancing quickly at the various children in the park. That little one on the swings, being pushed by the slender redhead, he replied. Devin looked at Simon's ring finger and saw that he was occupied. Is she your wife? She looks a bit young for you, she asked, and there was more than just sarcasm in her voice. She's 37, takes good care of this old man, and our son Liam. He's 3 years old, Simon said. Wow, younger than me. Why do you need that when our two are grown and out of the house? Devin asked. Camilla, she's my wife, and she didn't have any kids from her first husband, but she really wanted children. For a man my age, I'm in pretty good shape. I still go to the gym regularly, do a bit of cycling, and my wife and I have joint activities, Simon said, flushing as he realized what he had said. Well, I get it. Yes, Devin said. I think I'm happy for you. You didn't deserve what I did to you. Simon smiled sadly. That sound upset his ex-wife. Yes, I didn't deserve what you did to me, he replied, but, in the end, I turned out very well. Really well. But still, don't expect me to thank you. After a few seconds of silence, Devin began to speak, but Simon looked up at the sound of his wife's voice coming from the swings. Oh, I have to go. Hey, I have almost a full cup of black coffee here. Not that we've never exchanged germs before. Do you want it? Sure. Thanks, Devin said quietly. Simon stood up and headed toward the redhead and the little child. His smile stretched from ear to ear.